Hey class, this is Mr. Durst here, and I want to give you some advice on how to be an awesome student in anatomy and physiology. How can you ace A and P? So, this list that I have for you came from the Human Anatomy and Physiology Society. It's a list that is put together by hundreds of A and P teachers from around the United States. So, let's start at number 10. First, get yourself a study group. Now, a lot of students are really scared to talk to other people and say, hey, could you please be in my study group? Fear of rejection, fear of smelling bad. I don't know. Like there's many different reasons for these phobias. Guys, gals, I gotta let you know, just talk to your classmates. Most of them will say no because they have scheduling conflicts, because they aren't interested in being in a study group because they don't think they need to be in a study group. But I promise you, students, if you spend some time asking around, eventually you'll find people that will say yes. And not only will you have a study group, but you'll have some people that you'll probably end up being friends with. Here's another one. Actually read the chapters that are being covered in class. We have a textbook for a reason. Now, I don't require reading assignments, particularly in my class, but if you find yourself in a situation where you are struggling and you need extra review, read the assignments. In particular, read the assigned chapters before you come to class. If you're struggling for a lack of time, instead of reading it before you come to class, the entire chapter, just read the captions and the chapter summary at the end. When you're reading, not if, but when you're reading, visualize what you're reading. Don't spend time just kind of zoning out in a torpor or semi-conscious state, scanning the pages, but instead actively think about what you're reading and how it applies to your specific life. And I really like this one. Draw on a piece of paper. When you're reading about a structure, draw that structure at the same time. Here's another one, study in bursts, not binges. I personally think that this class is kind of like a Thanksgiving meal. And at a Thanksgiving meal, you have that big fat turkey in front of you. You don't eat that turkey in one big bite without having problems. And in the same way, in this class, if you try to cram in all the information the night before the exam, you're going to have some problems. Instead, you need to take small bites. You need to chew, swallow, and digest. In other words, you need to have one or two 30-minute sessions every single day. And that will help you be able to remember the information. In particular, I want you to study a little bit, sleep on it, and then study a little bit more. And those sleep cycles, particularly the REM cycles where you're sleeping, really help you to remember what you're learning. Also, apply what you're learning. In particular, when we're looking at bones and muscles, you need to palpate yourself. Feel your own body. For those of you who have jobs, maybe as a CNA, an EMT, or as a medical lab tech, you can take what we're learning in class and apply it to your job right now. Okay, we're gonna go. There we go. Okay, and then I know this isn't a very popular one, but this class is disproportionately hard, and I'm going to circle this one right here. I fully understand this is a 200 level class or a 300 level class, typically a sophomore or junior level class. But it's really hard for a lot of students. It's disproportionately hard for a lot of students because in this class, you have to do something that typically you don't have to do anymore in school, and that's just memorize it. You have to just suck it up and memorize lots of information, hundreds of vocabulary words a week. And that's really hard, and I'm sorry, but there's no way around it. You need to learn the terminology. And the best way to learn that terminology is to put in the time. You don't need to stream movies on the internet. That can wait till later. As we look here, having a daily study routine helps you, and I know for me in particular, helped me a lot. So, for instance, program your phone and just put it on your calendar, your digital calendar, so that your phone vibrates at you and says, hey, you need to go study at this time. For me in particular, having the study routine paired with a study group really worked really well. It gave me some accountability where I said, okay, crud, I need to get to the library right now. I have a reservation for that study room, and if I don't get there, I'm going to be letting a bunch of people down. And then for number 3, mix it up. Use a variety of study techniques. Read the chapters. Watch the lecture recordings on YouTube. Take the practice quizzes I make available. Draw and color with the optional worksheets that I make available for you. The more ways you learn the information, the more parts of your brain you're going to be using, and the more likely that information will be to stay in your brain. And then as we're looking at this, I know on the last slide I said you'd have to memorize lots of terms, but it's not just memorizing. Also make sure you understand. In particular, I'm thinking of microscope slides. A lot of students spend time memorizing the specific image of a specific tissue on a specific microscope slide. And they don't focus on learning the key characteristics of those specific tissues so that when they look at something slightly different, they can think critically about it and identify the slightly different view of the exact same tissue type. This is a big one. Try to explain what you've been studying. This is where a study group comes in handy. Maybe you have a roommate or that's taken A&P or that will take or that is in A&P. If you're more of an introvert and you can't just bring yourself to talk to other people, talk to a mirror, talk to a cat, talk to a house plant, whatever or whoever you need to talk to, do it. Verbalizing, it's one thing to think about it in your head and to internally think, oh, I got it, I know what's going on here. But the moment you have to put it to words and say a coherent sentence to explain something out loud, it becomes much more difficult. So practice explaining it out loud. And I can't emphasize this enough. Repetition and review is critical. It's not enough to study it once and to think that you're going to remember it. Repetition and review is critical. Learning it once is not enough. You need to repeat, and reinforce. Oh, excuse me. Think of it kind of like an athletic competition. For those of you in athletics, your coaches make you have drills. You repeat the same physical motions over and over again to develop muscle memory. And if you want to develop mental memory, you need to repeat the mental motions over and over again while you're going onto this class. So hopefully this is a helpful list of 10 things for you to help you kick butt and succeed in anatomy and physiology. If you have any questions specifically about this class, email me, post them on the class discussion board, or try talking to all your classmates. And as always, happy studies.